people are preferring properties where they don't have to do work to them. In order to get a decent payment, they're coming in with a very large down payment. In some cases, they're even having to buy the closing costs down to get a reasonable payment. And that wipes out the money that they would have to renovate it, basically. So essentially, they're financing the renovations.
And the people that have the capacity to purchase in there, now they have the capacity to be more picky. Yeah. Where before they didn't, particularly with that one, by reverse engineering and asking questions like, hey, if you were a buyer in today's marketplace, you knew that inventory was rising, demand was softening. The question is would you want a property that perhaps, you might have to do some change modifications? Or would you know that as a buyer, you're the commodity at the moment? And would you be a little bit more picky to get, exactly what you wanted that will require a little bit, a lot less work, and then be quiet and see what they say?
At times, they're going to go with the illogical thing. The not logical / denial. Well, I think that's just a matter of preference, Ern. If I was the buyer, I would want something that I could modify to my taste.
Yeah. And listen, I certainly get that. At the same time, I guess what I'm aware of, do you think all buyers think exactly like you? Or do you think more often than not, they may actually prefer something like novel or new?
Well, I think that there's a segment of the marketplace that would prefer something that they can modify to their taste.
Yeah.
Meaning, I've seen it where somebody buys a house 3 doors down, pays a great price, and then they gut the whole thing.
Yeah, I understand. Now, in order for them to, so let's think about it this way. Let's say that you have the capacity to get a deal like that, but you're going to have to put a lot of money into the property.
Okay.
What will that do to the purchase price of that home that you're making an offer on? Will you pay top dollar for that home?
They did in that case.
Yeah. In which case?
The one that sold at 1.6 and they went in there and gutted the whole thing anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the question is like, while that buyer may be available, the question is time frame wise, right? For you personally. And remember, price is a snapshot in time. Things change. Sometimes people have a lot of resources. They come in and they get what they want. At the same time, we're entering into an environment where the inventory is rising pretty dramatically. So they just have more to choose from. So I think what happens is we have this kind of issue where we imagine because it happened one way one time, it means it's always going to be that way.
Yeah.
And what's happening in the marketplace is just, it's shifting and changing. Can I explain to you how that's happening and then go into that? Yeah. So like, again, what you're talking about, Jose, which is good, but we're in this very interesting gap where inventory is clearly rising around the country. It's clear. Everybody's talking about it. Demand is softening. Everything is needing to get price adjustments, but there are still pockets where stuff sells. There are still these one-offs where somebody gets, somebody just doesn't care and has a lot of money and buys what they want. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't override the underlying kind of direction. So we just have to remain logical, ask a lot of questions, but sometimes you'll be in a situation where it's it's kind of difficult to I get it. It's an outlier.
So how would you communicate that?
Authentically. I'd be like, hey, listen, I understand that it's very challenging to say hey, why is that property sold for 1.6? And truthfully, based on the information that we've looked at, I guess, let me ask you, seeing how many are available for sale now, knowing the condition in that property, if you were a buyer and you were going to buy that home, do you think you would offer 1.6?
Probably not.
No, and why not?
There's a lot more choices now.
Yeah. And don't you think most buyers would feel pretty similar to you? So while it's possible, the question is it probable, Jose, that we could find somebody that's willing to overpay for the property?
Yeah.
The whole mental map needs to switch around price.
Yeah.
It needs to be we need to have a real candid, straightforward, upfront conversation. I need to politely confront people when they're doing things that aren't reasonable or rational, but this urgency of hey, just so you know, with a super high degree of probability, if you make a decision that will cause you to sit on the market longer, you're exposing yourself to the downward pressure.
Yeah, 100%. Even full disclosure for me, I wasn't involved in 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, or 12. And I've had situations where it's downward pressure, but it's usually limited. What I mean
Mhm.
by that, so I experienced it in 2018 when rates went up from like 3 to 5. There was a period where there was downward pressure, and then the rates came back down, and that went away. Then there was a period in COVID where there was short-term downward pressure, like right when COVID came out for about 6 months, there was downward pressure. And then there was a period in um, May of 2022 when rates went up from like 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 or whatever. And then it's been in cycles. So what I've noticed about the market from 2022 is goes up a little bit, then goes down. And when it goes up and then comes down, you experience the same thing for that period of time. Then it goes up a little bit, then it goes down. So if you look at it, it's been like just like and even if you see it in a graph, it's like goes up, then comes down. And then what I also see in some cases, I don't know if it'll happen this time, is that once people start realizing like, hey, look, like we're in a buyer's market, some people will hold out on putting their properties on the marketplace. They'll just basically say, hey, look, I'm not going to sell, which then causes the supply to come down, and then it causes like a little bit of a uptick, and then more people put their property on the market, and then it causes it again, basically.
Leaders don't panic, they pivot. So the pivot needs to be at this moment strategically that whatever you were doing from a pricing portion of the listing presentation, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You have to change it. You have to set the frame before you give them the message. Whatever you were doing in terms of like price reductions, and you probably haven't been kind of having that conversation that frequently.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get really, really good at it. Whatever you're doing with negotiating, like you got to get good at like helping people to make decisions when they're not getting what they want. That's the thing that like distinguishes, I think, like, a pro from an amateur. It's like, dude, you don't have to be skilled when everybody's getting what they want. The buyer's getting the house that they want. This person's getting this what they want. The money's cheap. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Now there will be people that are unhappy. They're going to be disappointed. They're not going to get, their expectations aren't going to be met. So like, how do you help somebody navigate that and still make the decision when it's not easy for them to make the decision?
Yeah.
That's the strategic pivot. When I've gone through major changes in the market, it took 6 months for agents to realize there was a change.
Yeah.
But it took a year for sellers to realize there was a change.
What does that mean?
Like it took them a year to accept what was happening. But it took agents 6 months to accept it and to realize it. And I'm seeing that happen right now. So I was on calls with 3 or 4 agents over the last, let's say 60 days, where inventory's gone up for them personally. They're carrying 10, 12, 15 listings, nothing selling. So and other people where like they got caught where marketplace changed. They were doing like these they thought they were working hard, Yeah. And they weren't making good choices. And then they end up with not that many listings, not that many pendings, because this marketplace is like wildly unforgiving. And they get caught, and then they're like, "Oh man, I got to get a job."
Oh yeah,
I had that conversation yesterday with somebody.
Bro, don't tell everybody I'm going to go get a day job.
Nah,
come on, bro.
nah.
You can't put me on blast like
Come
that.
on, bro. Don't talk about our private conversations. No, but like, yeah. So it's very clear to me. Me and you noticed it 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And then we started to do all these live streams specifically on price, specifically on these skills that we need to equip people with, right? It's very relevant. It's very timely. This is what you need. I hear people talking about it. Inventory's going up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, what do you need to do to deal with it? And these are the skills, tactical skills that you need to do to acquire to deal with it. But I think most agents aren't really, they're only kind of recognizing it because of the pain that they're experiencing, not because they're paying attention or studying what's happening.
Yeah.
But that's problematic because what that means is you're out there giving advice to people around price and it's not accurate. And then you have to play this game where you're going to have to beat them up 2 or 3 times to get them to, you know what I mean? Just the price.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to somebody and he was like, yeah, dude, we had to lower it by like 10%. I'm like, well, you know what that tells me? He's like, what? I'm like, well, you were way off to begin with. You know what that also tells me? You're probably lowering it to where it should have been 2 months ago.
Well, here's what I'm noticing as well, too. Similar to Florida, the condo markets are suffering out here because of fire insurance and earthquake insurance, basically. Mm-hmm. I'm noticing a trend in that area as well, too. where I'm getting calls from people saying, hey, look, dude, my building doesn't have fire insurance. And if they don't have fire insurance, that means if the building burns down,
Yeah, you're toast.
the condo covers the exterior of it.
Yeah.
So it's like basically your entire equity is gone.
So isn't that interesting? That the same-
And there's nothing you can do about it because you can't go get fire insurance for your exterior of portion. It's got to be covered by the building.
Yeah. So what's happening in a similar way, it's different, but similar, insurance and is playing a part because, you know, and it's causing that market to become less desirable
100%.
or less affordable, right? So therefore there has to be a deleveraging, like prices have to come down. I was saying 2 years ago, I'm like, dude, condo market, I think prices are going to come down 18, 20% in the next, you know,
Well,
2 or 3 years.
well, not only that, but for the people that can't afford it, they're going to start selling, which means more supply now.
Cassidy, he asked us like, hey, are motivated sellers more important? Yeah, more important than ever in terms of property sitting. Yeah. So what I would do is I would go down your inventory. Let's say you got 10 listings, whatever you got. Go down your inventory, put their name, put their level of motivation, like put why they're selling, and rate their motivation on a scale from 1 to 10. Bro, if it's anything less than an 8, I would highly consider giving it back, like strongly, because it's probably not going to sell. Right? I think we got into this pattern of thinking, Jose, oh, as soon as we take a listing, it's cash money in the bank. Listing sold, listing sold. No,
Yeah.
You know what a normal market is? Probably like half your inventory sells a month, if that. Like that's normal, right? So somebody sent me an article where she was like, yeah, how can this be? Because it said in the Boston area, inventory went up 27%. And they're like, we're returning to our more balanced market. She's like, what do you mean balance? I'm like, well, it was out of balance before because there was no inventory. So the balance is now there's more inventory and then the buyers have more, you know what I'm saying? Like it's becoming more balanced in that way, right? So yeah, more than ever, you got to get, and again, these are all the skills we've been talking about for the last 6-7 weeks, which is, pre-qualify hard.
Yeah.
Like somebody saying, I want more room for my dogs, like in the backyard. No. Needs to be death, divorce, job, relocation, moving to assisted living. Like motivation has to be 8, 9s, or 10s. Second is, again, doing that inventory regularly. I used to do that. I remember doing that. Here's their name. What's their motivation? What's their, on a scale from 1 to 10. And if they're a 7, call them, requalify them. Hey, what would happen on the outside chance if we were here for 6 months and it didn't sold? That'd be fine. That's a problem. That's a red flag. Yeah. Oh, is it an option for you just to hold on and stay put? Yeah. Yes. Okay. And it sounds like, tell me this, how would your life improve? Like if you sold, well, if we sold, it's cool. If it's not, that's okay too. That's a problem. I would highly consider giving it back because it's probably not going to sell, or you'll get them an offer that's in alignment with current market conditions and they won't take it because of their motivation.
Cool, man. This is always helpful.
All right, team. Let's go be great. Peace.
Later. Bye.
You got an event coming up, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
What are you guys going to be talking about?
We're going to be going over price reduction objections. You know how like objections in real estate trickle down to like one main objection? Yeah. So I've narrowed it down to like, hey, I'm going to wait. That comes like in different variations. It comes in, hey, I just want to give it more time, or it's too soon. Hey, I want to rent out the property, or hey, look, I want to wait for rates to drop, or I want to wait for the summer.